Welcome everyone. SSBills Talk episode 7. We scored a touchdown now. 7, count them. That'll be about the number of times the Bills win the AFC East in a row in a few years. Lawrence Foster with Dr. Dung along with you. Welcome in.
Welcome.
Might be easy for people to think, oh, the draft's done, free agency's mostly done, the schedule's not out for a few weeks, there's nothing to talk about. Au contraire.
Wrong.
We got lots to talk about. After the draft, after a couple moves after the draft by the Bills, it's really a good time to take a look at the roster, see who we think might be on the bubble, maybe some shockers, maybe some trade targets. I already know one that you're going to say could be a trade target to move off the roster. But
you already know.
Yeah, if you follow us at all, you know who that will be for Dr. Dungan. But quarterback position, starting there. Obviously, Josh Allen, lock for probably top 3 MVP. But
guaranteed.
I think the interesting part will be quarterback. You have Mitchell Trubisky, who's been there a few years now, if you count his first stint with the Bills. Mike White, who came on towards the latter part of last year, and Shane Buechel. Do you think there's any surprises there out of those 3 behind Josh?
No, but we've talked for a while, and we even talked about it in the draft, where it'd be nice to have somebody behind him that either wasn't a journeyman or just people who we know aren't very good. Like, I don't feel comfortable with any of those guys coming in place for Josh. Now, it's one of those things, right, where if a guy could come in and, win you some games, and he's likely, vying for a starting job somewhere. But I wish we would have drafted a guy in the 5th, 6th round, sort of just to sit back there for which we could teach him up for the next couple of years. So it is what it is. I just hope none of them ever have to play.
Yeah, the Bills season would be not so great.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that Mike White is somebody that can push Mitch Trubisky.
Mm-hmm.
Trubisky, I don't have much. I think he's like a kind of a shell shock quarterback in terms of, like, when he got to play for Pittsburgh, he looked worse than he did in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
The argument can be made, the Bills have a better cast around him. I don't think he has the mentality to do it. And then I think a lot of flaws that Josh hides will become evident if he ever doesn't play.
100%. With our receiver core is good with Josh Allen, and not so good if anyone else, or not anyone else, but, there's a handful of guys, the Mahomeses and Burrows of the world that could elevate our roster or our receiver core to look as good as it is. But with Mitch back there, they're not good enough to make a below average quarterback look average.
But I think what you mentioned earlier about the Bills still, like, refusing to take a quarterback late in any draft. Like, it's not anything against Josh. Like, good teams do that of, like, let's develop somebody. At worst, we wasted a 6th, 7th round pick. At best, to get somebody who in a few years could be a good trade asset to bring back a higher draft pick than what you spent using them.
Well, you mentioned it last year, I believe, when it came to Milton. I'm pretty sure you wanted or whenever he was drafted, either last year or the year before, because the Pats took him in the 5th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a guy that you had mentioned. And like as a project guy, it doesn't hurt to keep one of these guys around has essentially runs the same offense that Josh would run. That's ultimately what it is you don't want anything to change. You just lost your quarterback. Well, the next best thing is you have a quarterback that runs the exact same offense, that can scramble, that has a big arm. And so drafting a guy like that, it just seemed, for crying, as much as Shedeur Sanders is irritating, or just his overall persona, as a Bills fan, right? Like, you could do worse having a guy develop behind Josh. So just, I'm with you. perplexing why since don't get Jake Fromm. I don't think we've drafted a guy since him.
Yeah, and it just the Bills have they're so lucky that Josh hasn't been hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I mean, it happens like quarterbacks like Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, aside from Tom Brady's one like huge knee injury, but the odds eventually you figure is going to go the opposite way. And for as good as Breen has built everything else up, like he attacked the defense this year, he has been to get the great offensive line, great running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw what happened like when Aaron Rodgers went down, when Andrew Luck went down. They had playoff teams around them, but when the quarterback who does everything went down, their team went into the crapper. So I think just because it's a veteran doesn't mean it's a great backup. And I think that Bean is confusing that a little bit of, oh, Mitch Trubisky, he's been in the playoffs before. Yeah, but again, was that because of Mitch Trubisky that the Bears were making the playoffs when he brought him in there?
Right. No,
So,
yeah, 100%.
It's a little thing, but heaven forbid Josh misses 3 games. We'd be lucky to go 1-2 in those 3.
Right. I mean, especially given the fact that our defense isn't good enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I guess I don't think there's too much more to say other than the fact that Josh's play style puts him, I mean, in a greater risk for even getting hurt.
Yeah.
So, frankly, I wish we would do things similar to what the Ravens do. Like, see Baltimore putting Lamar Jackson in there for a quarterback sneak. One, he's not built for it, but 2, it's like that is one needless hit for which dudes are, granted, they're not coming fast, but they're coming hard. And I know as much as you like it when that happens. But sorry, jokes aside, you know what I mean, though, right? Like put in another big body guy that can take a snap and can get a yard because it just.
That's what the Chiefs have done. They don't let Mahomes do any quarterback sneaks after he almost dislocated his knee.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. And I always think of too, like the design sweeps where Josh, he doesn't slide, so he's going to get nailed with like the linemen and linebackers flowing down with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So anything you can prevent that is I'm all for.
I mean, why not have the fullback do it, right? Like,
well,
Mike Allstott.
They could also do something like what Brissett had always. He went in to do quarterback sneaks instead of the other. So something like that. Trubisky or somebody could do it. Yeah, put in Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch is what 6'4", 6'5",
and maybe he won't go always to the left either. But running back, moving on to there, we have mentioned before. I think the Bills have the best running back room in the league.
Mm-hmm.
They have James Cook, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, Frank Gore Jr., and Darrington Evans, all the same from last year, whether they were practice squad or roster. Do you see any movement there? Like maybe does Frank Gore push for any of the other spots, or do you think it's trade aside? Yeah. Do you think the top 3 stay essentially as they were last year? Is there any room for movement there?
I think they're almost a lock. I mean, barring some major issue in camp or somebody getting hurt, no, I think they stay the same. Just because you saw, even as with Ray Davis as a rookie, he came in and had meaningful snaps. He's shifty. He brings he's a different size guy than Cook. And then Ty Johnson, Josh loves him. He has great hands. And so he's just a really good all-round third down type back. And so, no, I mean, I'm with you. I think we have one of the best running back rooms in the league. I just wish there wasn't as much off the field turmoil.
So the signs point to Cook staying a Bill.
Yes.
Let's say for some reason they trade him before the trade deadline. How would the breakdown, how would the depth chart be? Do you think Ray Davis will become 1? Does Ty Johnson step in? Does Frank Gore? Like, what do you think happens if the Bills trade for him, and assuming they can't get somebody back of his caliber?
Yeah, see, now that would be the only thing that actually annoys me. The fact that the draft is over, now we have to keep them. Because if you get rid of them, just as you said, the other two guys, they're good, but they're not as good as he is. Um, and so, unless you're going to get somebody back, and in this situation, we're not, I think that would cause a lot of upheaval. I think you would see Ty John. Essentially, I think everyone would just move up. I think you'd see Ty Johnson as your lead back with Frank Gore, not Frank Gore, gosh, Ray Davis backing him up. Gore, we didn't really get to see any of. I don't think he took a single snap in the regular season. So I mean, outside of his father, right, we have no idea like what he can do. So no, that would again, I still think that Ty Johnson and Ray Davis are serviceable backs, but I think we're better off with James Cook as the lead guy.
Would bringing somebody like a Nick Chubb in,
Hmm.
like, would that be like you sign him, trade Cook, and you kind of use Chubb to bridge you to next year?
I'd be fine with that. I like Nick Chubb a lot. I mean, granted, you're likely not going to get the same Nick Chubb as what was in Cleveland 2-3 years ago. But I just, yes, I'd forgotten that he was out there. And so if we did trade Chubb, I can totally see us doing that, getting a guy that can run in the cold weather, someone who's, Cleveland and Buffalo, very similar environments and fan bases, I think, except for you might get, and granted, I don't think Nick Chubb ever took a playoff, but I think you would get the absolute best version of him. One, he'd be motivated to keep playing, and two, to finally play for a winner.
Yeah. And like, he would never have been with two backs as good as what we have beside him either.
Sure.
Plus, a quarterback of Josh's caliber taken
definitely
out of the box. So just something to keep in mind if maybe Bean decides like, hey, like we have no chance of keeping him. If we can get a guy like Chubb, maybe get something for him. But like you said, now that the draft's done, I do what we can with him this year is my hope, and then maybe we can work something out or franchise tag him.
Sure. Let me ask you a question. So you said that Chubb's never played with as good of a backfield. Which backfield do you take? The Browns of 3 years ago with Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and Jerome Ford, or our current running back room?
Ours. I think it's more versatile. Like Chubb and Hunt are like, they're bruisers, but they don't have, like, Cook has this breakaway speed that neither has.
Sure.
And then Ty is a receiving, both Ty and Cook are receiving threats. I don't feel like any of them are. And Ford's kind of seemed like he's a forgotten guy now.
Yeah, no, I mean, when he was the main guy last year, he didn't, things didn't turn out his way.
It's one of those like, oh, he looks good in a backup role, and then he gets to be the guy. And like, yeah, I always think of 35. He went to the Patriots, and Gillislee.
Yes,
like he always looked so good for us, and he went there like nothing, and we got Matt Milano because of it.
Yeah, we wanted him so bad.
Yeah, sometimes we're wrong. Very rare.
Rarely.
Fullback Reggie Gilliam, just quickly, he signed a 1-year deal to return. Does he stick, or do we move away from the fullback?
I mean, I just think he's been a core of the offense for so long that that's one of those things which, I mean, I'm not a superstitious person, but I just think in terms of the offense, one, Josh sort of seems like he is, but if they can keep the guys around, they keep everything together, I just think it makes it better. Gillislee's a guy that's been there for 3, 4, 5 years. Everyone knows him, that they like him. He has a role. He knows what to do. He knows the team. So, yeah, I think he stays.
All right. Then moving to receiver, we currently have 13 wide receivers on the roster.
Yikes.
Here they go. Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore, Laviska Shenault, Jalen Virgil, Tyrell Shavers, KJ Hamler, Caden Prather, Kelly, not even going to try to pronounce the last name, Stephen Gosnell, and Hal Presley.
Did you say one from the Browns?
Yeah, Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore.
Yeah, he was right after Curtis Samuel. So I think the back end of that, like 4 slots, 4, 5, and 6, assuming they keep 6, be actually a pretty good battle to watch this year. So how do you see that shaking out? Who will be the odd men out?
Dang. I mean, I'm with you. I think we're gonna. So like we usually dress 4 or 5. I think we're gonna have to keep. I mean, I just think based on the contracts and the potential, we're gonna have to keep 6. So Keon, Shakir, Palmer, Samuel, and even though we just signed him more being locks because we just signed more to a 3.5 or $3.5 million deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just unless you're going to throw that money away, but but at least those I guess 4 guys: Keon, Shakir, Samuel, and Palmer. Samuel being just because his contract, I think it's cut prohibitive. But then yeah, I mean in terms of who gets the snaps, right? I mean Moore, Samuel, and a lot of those guys I don't even know who they are. Shavers is a guy that I would love.
Yeah, he was the one I was going to mention.
Yeah, I mean, he's one where I would love to see him finally consistently make the 53. I mean, he's been in there grinding for years. One catch for 65, 70 yards and a touchdown. I think Bills fans in general like him. Josh seems to like him a lot. So those 6 are the ones that I'm rooting for, largely because the other 7 I don't really know too much about.
And to me, it's going to boil down to special teams for those final few receivers.
Mm-hmm.
They've been mentioning LaVisca Chenault like he's kind of like Cordell Patterson, where he essentially became just a returner. But if he offers any value as a wide receiver, that's where the Bills have to determine: do we keep Codrington, who essentially only returned and did nothing else, or do we keep Chenault, who can do the returns but at least offers something to the offense?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think Chenault would be a better option just because Codrington, I mean, he did fine as a returner, but using the Jaguars mindset of if you can get 2 players out of 1 guy, I mean, it only makes sense to have somebody who can play receiver if you need him to.
And I thought when Shakir took over punt return duties at the end of the year that he offered just as much explosion as Codrington, but like you said, the positional versatility of I can do more than just this.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if the NFL ever moves off only having 45 players active on game day, that would be nice. Which I really don't understand why they have 8 people inactive every week who are on the active roster.
Yeah, I mean, unless they think it's for safety in terms of having 8 fewer people crowding the sidelines or something. I don't know.
From what I heard, it was back in the day they thought it would be unfair. Like if a team had 10 injured players, the other team would have that many more people than the other one. But with the new rules of like you can bring up players from the practice squad and all that, to me, I think that's just one of those things that needs to get looked at to change. Just because think about how much you lose. Like you have 8 guys who've been practicing all week, healthy scratches, like Elam healthy scratch, Carter healthy scratches.
Elam, man, he really could have played some impactful minutes for us.
Right. Right.
But Carter, no, yeah, I'm with you. Like, yeah, because now all of a sudden it's a dude where it's a coach could be like, I'll put him in so he can get some reps. You can't.
Yeah.
If you're winning 35-0 in the 4th quarter, that guy gets no reps.
And they changed the rules like about having the active quarterback so they don't have what happened to the Niners a few years ago, right? Like there's other positions that you don't want to have that. Like what if you lose your lineman? Like your offensive lineman, you want to get your quarterback losing them that way? Because, I have 2 active guys, but I couldn't keep them on. And then we get 3 who tear ACLs in one game. So, and I think that would help the Bills here of doing that. But I think Chenault makes it. I think Codrington's gone. My top 6 in no particular order: Coleman, Palmer, Shakir, Samuel, Moore, and Chenault, with maybe Shavers doing something to get on there.
Well, so I guess with Chenault, though, right? I mean, would he count as our I mean, obviously he would be a receiver, but if like his primary job was kick return and emergency receiver, would the Bills even treat him as one?
Yeah. So I mean, if they didn't do that, then to me, I'd like you said to see Shavers make that, because the other guys like Coleman, Palmer, Shakir, Samuel Moore, I really don't think they're going to offer any special teams, like coverage wise.
And you wouldn't want him to. Like,
No.
I hear what you're saying with Shakir returning kicks, but unless it's the playoffs, I don't want him back there taking hits.
Yeah, he's so good in the open, like making people missing in the open field.
Yeah. Well, unless he was under slide or get out of bounds rules.
Yeah. I was thinking Jason Sehorn in a preseason game getting his whole career ruined because of a special teams return.
Yeah.
Tight ends. Moving on to other pass catchers. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Jackson Hawes, Zach Davidson, and Kaleki Latu.
Well, I think the Bills have shown that we're going to carry three. We did that all year. So obviously Knox, Kincaid, and I think that rookie that we took in the 5th or 6th round,
Hawes, yeah.
I just think the Bills have shown that rookies drafted in the 5th round can be meaningful contributors to the team. And so, given his blocking prowess, you had mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, where instead of touting out that 6th offensive lineman, well, now you have a blocking tight end who can catch, and it just gives you much more versatility.
And I think of like any like goal line, throwing 3 tight ends out there, having Knox and Hawes, who are both pretty good blockers. Kincaid, you can move out. And then that provides, like, in the red zone, like some severe matchup problems there. Are you going to go heavy trying to stop a run? And then you have Kincaid on a linebacker who should win most of those.
Well, we saw, and I forget his last name, but 85 for us. The tight end. What's that?
Lee Smith back in the day?
No.
Oh, Morris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what he did. I mean, he had a handful of touchdown catches in his time in Buffalo. Most of it came in the red zone when Josh was just scrambling. Nobody else. And then there he was.
And Hawes, like you said, is a big guy. So great red zone target, great blocker. That's, I think, why they drafted him essentially for that. So it's going to be 3, like you said. Kincaid and Dawson are. I really like what Hawes has the potential to bring to the offense that really wasn't there before.
Yeah, I do think that this year likely is a make or break year for Knox. I mean, we pay him decent money. Sure, he blocks for us, and again, he's a team favorite, a fan favorite, but that doesn't necessarily get you paid. I mean, I guess it shouldn't continue to get you paid. You got to be productive. So for him, I'm hoping he's able to revert to his red zone threat that he was a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and like he got, after a first few years, he seemed to, all right, he's on this upswing, and then he kind of just fell off a cliff.
Got his money, and
like I know his brother died, and like they seemed like they were close, so who knows the effect that has. And that was during the season, right? So who knows what that does to a person, and you never want to comment on that. But it seems like after that, he hasn't been the same since then. Yeah.
Now the tight end position is one where us and probably everyone else is looking for a resurgence next year. It was supposed to be a strength.
And Kincaid, like Brandon Beane had the interview with Go Long, the long form writing content, where he brought up the injury, and like I know he didn't really talk about it during the year, but his PCL all year. So you really hope that he gets back from that. So offensive line, we talked about Hawes being kind of like that 6th offensive lineman. Our starters are going to remain the same. We have Deion Dawkins, left tackle, Edwards, left guard, McGovern, center, Torrance, right guard, Spencer Brown, right tackle. And then we got Alec Anderson, Grable, Cedric Van Pran Granger. That's that center we drafted like in 4th round last year. But I think after this year, I think it was going to take over for McGovern who he didn't sign to an extension. He's in his last year. And now I'm not going to run over the other guys because it's like we have 16 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
But those are the main ones. Thoughts on that? I think we both think is our best line we've had in our time as Bills fans.
I mean, especially last season, with them just being healthy. I mean, outside of Dion missing a couple snaps here, Spencer Brown missing a couple of snaps, having a brain fart. For the most part, the line was healthy, and I just think that for us, for any team, that's like the biggest thing is just having a line that's healthy and, as they say, can gel.
Yep.
So, no, I think it's good. I do think that we need to start. I mean, prepping for the, I guess, future, because Dion's mid-30s, couple of years left of being an elite left tackle. So I'd like to see us maybe in the next year or two start spending a little bit more draft capital to bolster the offensive line, or at least get them prepared for life after, sort of like what you said, getting ready for McGovern to be done. But
and I think they started doing that when they drafted Lunt in like the 6th round this year, like the 6'7" guy who can play left and right tackle from UConn. Like they drafted a guy who there's not many people built like that, and what we wish they could have done at quarterback, they can give him time to develop. He doesn't have to step right in. But I even like the backups. Like Alec Anderson played so much last year being the 6th guy. I feel comfortable if he has to step in. Van Pran-Granger was a highly rated center that we ended up getting kind of as a steal last year, who I would be okay stepping in with. We have a little bit of depth, which is good. But Torrance doesn't get nearly the recognition he should get.
It's no love.
His first 2 years in the league, like he just played so well coming out of the SEC, like he was ready for it.
Yeah, he did. Even Madden, I mean, like, I know Madden's not the be all end all, but Madden rated him like as a low to mid 60s guy.
I always know that gets you fired up with how
because it's so stupid. Like, come on.
Like Josh, I wonder what they're going to have Josh be this year. Now that he finally won MVP.
98.
Yeah, still won't be the highest. So I think much like tight end, the offensive line is going to be pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get the defensive line. I'm going to combine the tackles and ends. So I'm going to do like Ace Ventura and take a real deep breath in and try to read them all off. And Greg Rousseau, Joey Bosa, AJ Epinesa, Michael Holt, Landon Jackson, Javon Solomon, Hayden Harris, Parrish Shand, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, TJ Sanders, Larry Ogunjobi, Dwayne Carter, Deion Walker, Zion Logue, and David Brandon Epps. Lots of new names there from last year for the Bills. They spent a lot of resources in free agency and the draft. So let's talk about who are going to be the odd men out, because there's going to be people cut, released, traded, whatever it may be, going to be gone.
Dang, it's hard. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at the list too. I mean, obviously guys where I think they have tagged in the 4th spot. So Hayden Harris, Logue, Epps, Harris. I mean, I think this is actually probably easier than we think, because we just need to think of, all right, well, the Bills just drafted a ton of dudes, right? So we just drafted Sanders, Walker, and Landon Jackson. So they're not going anywhere. Okay. We just signed Bosa, re-signed Greg. Ed has a big contract. We signed Hoyt, Ogunjobi. They're not going anywhere. We extended Epinesa last year. We drafted Carter last year. We drafted, and then those guys aren't going anywhere. Now we start, I think, getting into people who potentially could. So I think even though we drafted him last year, Solomon, he was a 5th round guy. So I think he's going to have to play well in camp to stick. Daquan Jones, even though a lot of people have him as like one of our starting defensive tackles, who knows? I think he's a guy who could play himself out of a job in the preseason. Or at least that's what I feel based on how inconsistent he was last year. And then everyone sort of behind them. Because frankly, and this was what I was going to ask you. Do you know historically how many defensive ends and defensive tackles we keep on the roster?
I do not. That'd be something I think you'd have to look at a roster in like October, like once things are set. So like who's actually on it. Like the way they have it split up right now is we have 8 defensive ends and 8 defensive tackles.
Yes.
Somebody like when you talked about position flexibility earlier, somebody like Michael Holt is somebody that can play end and tackle. So like, how are you counting him?
Well, and I was just about to say him and Ogunjobi, in all reality, what the roster is going to be in mid-October, as we said before, it's not going to be what the roster is in early September. So in a way, you got to pretend like those guys aren't even there, because there's going to be 2 guys that normally wouldn't have made the roster that do.
Yeah, right. I think that might be Daquan Jones, who is going to look out that they're suspended, and then I think he would have been cut otherwise.
Correct. And so I think the September roster is going to be, most of the guys on the roster are probably going to make it, just because Ogunjobi and Hoyt won't be available. Now, again, come mid-October when they come back, well, then we're going to see who showed the team. And frankly, I think this is the best possible position that we could be in. Granted, I think the beginning of our season is going to be probably the more challenging, because it usually is for some reason. But it's going to give the Bills coaches 6 weeks to see live action with all of these guys and be able to say, hey, you know what? This guy, he was a fringe player before, but he has really crushed it. No, he definitely stays. So, I mean, who goes? I don't know.
And I like Solomon. Like Solomon's a good special teams guy when we're talking about we need to have core special teamers. Like his speed allows him to be like one of those DNs who can actually be on the coverage teams too. And then we're not even factoring in like injuries that are going to happen in preseason.
Never. No one's going to get hurt.
Ideally, there's only one I would like. Don't let Josh get hurt. Everything else, we can figure it out.
Josh didn't even play.
No, I don't want to see him play at all. But I think defensive line and period is just going to be a really interesting thing to watch, because the Bills have so much depth in they're going to be having people who could be starting playing in the second half of some of these games, right? So just seeing I can't wait to see what Deion Walker, what's he going to provide? TJ Sanders, does he provide some juice? Victor Zaz, is he going to do it?
Get your Zaz out of here. Just you and the Zaz. I want to see Dwayne Carter. We drafted him in the 3rd round. Why did he get shelved last year?
Now, you saw what he did today, didn't you?
I did not.
He won the Micah Hyde charity softball home run derby today. So everyone's saying this is the start of his renaissance in year 2 is winning the home run derby.
I mean, it doesn't hurt anyways.
And Mitch Trubisky won the MVP of the game.
Oh, then it means nothing.
And Keon Coleman did a somersault, I think, backflip into home base.
Why?
I don't know. Trying to put on a show.
Yeah, well.
But, yeah, so, yeah, Dwayne Carter is very interesting. He played well last year when Ed was hurt.
Yeah. It's so perplexing on why after he hurt his wrist he didn't come back, because we could have used him, that's for sure.
But and it's funny, being mentioned at the end of the year, Kincaid has to do bulk up more, get stronger. Keon does, but there really wasn't anything that he talked about Carter, which is surprising because he talked about the other 2 openly. So somebody who was a kind of impact guy, then all of a sudden just wasn't even playing when the defense was struggling like it was. It doesn't make much sense.
No.
All right, moving on to linebacker now. We have Terrell Bernard, our only defensive captain, Matt Milano, who came back from injury last year. So hopefully he can, his last year in Buffalo, kind of show out. Dorian Williams, who I think we both like a lot. Balin Spector, Joe Andreessen, and then 2 undrafted free agents. Thoughts on the linebacking?
I mean, I think our starters are solid. I mean, we both know that this is Milano's last year. But when healthy, I think Milano and Bernard are a top 3, top 5 linebacker group. Again, we both like Dorian a lot. He's played a lot of meaningful snaps given how much Milano's been hurt. So if he has to step in, whether it's this year or take over the starting role next year, I'm fine with it. I'll freely admit that my personal feelings, and I am not unbiased about this, but I like Joe Andreessen a lot, given the fact that he was a Buffalo Bull, a hometown guy. I really hope for his sake he can continue to improve and stick to the roster, and sort of as you implied, Balin Spector, if he has to play, okay, but I'm never overjoyed when 54 has to be on the field.
I'd rather see Andreessen over him.
Same. So I think our linebacking core is fine. I mean, we're strong up front, and we do have a little bit of depth. So I think essentially the guys that we had last year are going to be the same ones that we have this year.
And it's funny, like almost all those linebackers we talked about, the rookie, if you go back and look at their rookie years, like not all that much. Bernard, after year 1, nobody thought he was going to do anything. And he exploded on after Edmonds was lost. Milano, they didn't even let fully start until halfway through his rookie year for some stupid reason, even though he was very clearly one of the best linebackers on the team. And same with Dorian Williams, didn't do much, and then he was put in. And I like that we're getting more speed and athleticism in the linebacker over the last few years.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm much more in favor of having like beefier defensive tackles and speedier linebackers. Sure, it's good to have a linebacker who can stuff a hole. But I mean, I think what we've been doing is like we've had like size or a little bit of size, but speed on both levels. And I think on first downs and short yardage downs, that really comes and bites in the butt.
Yeah. I mean, the Bills have been gashed so many times in the McDermott era because they have went with speed at linebacker and kind of undersized defensive linemen. So like they're starting to draft more physical freaks, I guess you could say, on the defensive line. So hopefully they're starting to go. And then Deion Walker is kind of like the biggest, pun intended, investment they've made at that position. So I'm hoping he plays well in the preseason so he can maybe take on a bigger role than we think. And really,
pun intended.
Yeah, the less Daquan Jones is on the field, I think better. He's ever since that injury a couple years ago in London, he just hasn't been the same since then.
That London game screwed us in so many ways.
Milano and him.
And Trey.
Yeah, and Trey. So never want to go to London again with the Bills. Great place to visit.
Weren't you there?
That's what I said. Like, great place to visit, but not for the Bills.
So maybe you're the problem.
Yeah. Anywhere I've been, I jinx it.
Yeah.
But nickel, Taron Johnson, one of the best nickels in the league. I don't think anybody can argue that. Cam Lewis is the backup to Corey Couch. I personally am hoping somebody unseats Cam Lewis as our backup nickel. But your thoughts on the nickel position?
Yeah, I mean, again, like when Taron's out there, I have no worries whatsoever. It's just everybody else after him makes me nervous. That being said, I think this year, and it's sort of dipping into talking beyond the nickel, because it does seem like we do have some cornerback depth. I think if Taron goes down, you're not going to see like Dane or Cam going out there to fill in. I think if we have, just say for example's sake, and we can talk about this more in a second, if you have Benford and Hairston out there starting, well, you're going to see Trey going out there at the nickel. Right. So I mean, as it stands, just nickel cornerbacks, don't love it. But I don't I guess we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah. And I guess the one thing you could say is Cam Lewis at least has game experience, but
Sure.
Cam Lewis seems to be at the losing end of a lot of balls that shouldn't be caught.
Ugh.
I think stupid Justin Jefferson, fourth and
Yeah.
forever.
Justin Jefferson.
So nickel won't spend much. Cornerback overall. You already mentioned Benford. Hairston is presumably they're going to be the starting opposite of him. Trey White's back. Dane Jackson's back. We drafted Dorian Strong. We have Jamarcus Ingram, who played well early last year.
Another guy that just disappeared after, like, we played Elam over him.
And Brandon Codrington is a corner listed as 7th right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, for like the first time in a while, I feel good about our depth. I think we have, a proven star in Bedford, a rookie that shows a lot of promise in Hairston, a veteran who, seemed to be resurgent-ish last year, and a team favorite in Trey, guys behind him that have a lot of experience. Ingram, who knows, but he's played some and played well, I think, in his limited opportunities. So, corner, I feel pretty good about.
Yep, and I mean, it could be a case where at the end of the preseason they have enough where they can trade one instead of cutting them. Bean seems to have a tendency of trading somebody that might get cut, like I think of like Boogie Basham or somebody, and getting something in return for somebody that doesn't have a future on the team. So let's just hope Benford stays healthy. Hairston plays like he should.
Oh, dude. Although this stuff with Hairston, it brings back, and I hate it that it does it, but it brings back feelings of when we drafted Elam. I can still see Elam's draft video. I was so pumped. He had some speed. He seemed like he was dialed in, played at Florida, for which I loved. Like I was like, man, Elam's going to be good. And then he showed us a little bit in his rookie season, but womp, womp, womp. Like it couldn't have been any worse when it really mattered.
Yeah, he can't keep his hands off the receiver.
Yeah. So it's just, we drafted, I guess, 3 corners in the first round. Trey, win. Elam, no. Hopefully Harrison will go back to the.
Yeah. But I mean, they drafted a couple guys late. Like everyone loves that Porter that the Bills drafted. Like saying like what he can provide, like especially he's a zone guy. That's what the Bills do.
Yeah.
So hopefully it can be like another Benford, like maybe he turns out and ends up being one of the better picks of the draft.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I heard a couple of guys talking about Strong and talking about Hancock, and even though Hancock I thought was a bit of a reach, Todd McShay loves Hancock. He couldn't say enough good things about him, so I guess I'll trust the expert.
Plus Herbie.
Herbie Hancock. Dude.
But with Hancock, he is flexible, and to me, that was like should be a wake up call to Cam Lewis, who's like the safety nickel hybrid, who's like year 3. So now this is time where that roster turnaround. All right, let's get him on a rookie deal and do what he does. So Lewis and him will be a pretty big battle.
Yep.
Now the rest of the secondary, we have safety. Taylor Rapp returns after probably his best year as a pro. Cole Bishop is hopefully going to be the starter opposite him.
He better be the starter.
And then Damar Hamlin. And then Joe B. from The Athletic lists Jordan Hancock as a safety. And then we also have that Derek Forrest brought in from the Chiefs. So thoughts on the safety room? I think we're both in agreement. Hamlin should not be seeing the field unless absolutely necessary.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to see Rapp and Bishop as the starters, and I actually think we'll see Forrest as the guy who comes in when someone's hurt, because wasn't he a relatively high draft pick? He just got injured.
Yeah, like he has good upside.
Yeah, no, so I like him over Hamlin, anyways. But either way, I did at minimum, we have some depth at safety, guys with a lot of starting experience, which that doesn't really mean a ton. If they're starting experience, they sucked. But Hamlin, anyways, he played good at times, poorly with others. So even if he is your guy coming in off the bench, I suppose you could do worse. But no, I feel good about the safety position, especially if Bishop is playing, because I think he played better as the year went on, as the rookies tend to do. It just would have been nice for him to start more of the season, just so he can typically more reps, the better.
And that's always been our argument of like, get these guys there's lumps early so they're not taking them when it matters later in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Hamlin, I think Hamlin is too safe. Like, and he doesn't have the ceiling that Bishop does, where Bishop can make up plays like, I get beat, I have the speed to make it up. Hamlin, if he takes a bad, like he can't correct his own mistakes in a play.
No.
So the ceiling for Bishop is so much higher, which makes the ceiling for the offense overall so much better. And like you said, everyone always thinks, oh, that Texans game where he got roasted for that big touchdown by Nico. Well, he hadn't really played before then. He's a rookie. He's going to have those types of plays.
100%.
But as the year went on, like you said, he started playing better. And I think that's why they had Hamlin not come back from his injury as soon, because Bishop was playing well.
No,
so,
I agree.
And that's another unit. Like, if the defensive line can actually A, get run stops, and then B, actually get after the passer, another position group that's going to be that much better thanks to a different position group. Last but not least, our specialists. Reed Ferguson, long time, first time. I don't like, you don't ever hear his name, so it's good as a long snapper. He does what he's supposed to do. And snapping in Buffalo is not an easy task. Bass, from that point of that 61-yard field goal against the Dolphins,
money.
I think he finally, like, he got, the Bills were patient, and it's like some of those kicks he made in the playoffs, like, were bombs that he was just, like that one against the Ravens, it was like a 50-something yarder where, like snow and wind, and nailed it. So we were rightfully on Bass for being not so good the last year, but after that Dolphins kick, he was back to being who he was that got the extension.
Yeah, no, I mean, and with the position, right, where, mindset and confidence is key more so than any other position on the field. That 61-yarder, I think, as you said, changed everything for him. He got his confidence back. He got his swagger back. I think the fans honestly did a really good job in terms of like not turning on him, showing him love in the game, and like after he nailed it, I just think it in a way. Have you seen? Oh my gosh, Ainsley, what's the movie with? Elemental. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
And that, like, in that one scene where the water dude Wade was going, like they were like yelling at the player, like, we love you, and like all the fans started like freaking out, and he sort of sucked it in and got good. I honestly, that's exactly what I felt like with Bass. He made that kick, and everything changed. So it's nice to be in a position for which like you don't have to worry about it, because at the end of not last year but the year prior, we definitely thought it was like, we're gonna. I mean, we just re-signed this guy, and then the year starts. He misses some kicks. We're like, good Lord. But that is one thing I'll give McDermott a lot of credit. He's given Bass a lot of leash, and Bass has repaid him every time.
Yep. So, we have faith in then the punter. We have two punters on the roster currently, Camarda and Brad Robbins. Don't really know anything about either.
I'm rooting for Robbins.
I figured. But as Joe B likes to call it, he calls it Puntapalooza, everybody.
Yeah.
So, again, I wish the Bills had done what we said they should have done and put Punt God on the commissioner's exempt list, and then, oh, look, it played out and nothing really happened. I think that it was just the time period when that was, they were too proactive with it. And like most teams just let things play out, and if they had done that, punting wouldn't even be a position you think about. It'd be an area of strength.
Except now he punts for our enemy. So
Yes. DJ, yes, it is a Bills podcast. DJ37, thanks for stopping in. Drop us a follow. Our stuff is on YouTube as we do. We do a weekly show, and we also have it go on to Spotify and Apple Podcast. So however you like to listen, we thank you for coming in. We are on a weekly, so thank you, DJ37. Go Bills indeed. So that's the Bills roster breakdown. Took us 51 minutes, but we got there.
I mean, I could talk someday.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about the Bills' schedule. So the schedule releases in a few weeks. And the Bills, we think, will have the maximum number of primetime games you're allowed.
Oh, guaranteed. We will.
So
5, right?
The real thing is, where are they going to be at? Because everyone always assumes Kansas City, but the last few years, that's been a protected game by CBS where it hasn't even been able to be on prime time.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull up I'm going to read the home and away games. I was ignoring the division, which everybody knows. Home, Ravens, Bengals, Saints, Bucks, Chiefs, and Eagles. Good Lord. Away games, Steelers, Falcons, Panthers, Browns, and Texans. Who are your primetime games?
Well, you know what?
DJ, thank you for liking and subscribing. We are on Sunday nights, DJ, between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern. So we really appreciate the like and the subscription. Thank you, and we hope to see you every week.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. I honestly, now that I look at the schedule, I think we're probably only going to get 4. Because, as you said, we're not going to get Kansas City. I mean, even though that should be a primetime game, but because between Baltimore, the Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Eagles, all 4 of them should be primetime games. We're probably only going to get 3, just because for what you said for CBS. And even that, having 3 home primetime games is a ton. So I think it'll be Bengals, Ravens, and Eagles. And then for away, I think we'll be at Houston will be a primetime game.
Yeah. Everyone's talking about the Steelers and Bills being the Germany game too.
Yuck.
I don't even know if like how to count that is. I don't know if that's considered a primetime game or not.
I mean, we're the only team on, right?
Yeah.
It's 9 a.m. or 8 a.m., whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. Way to start off the morning terrible. But if I'm gonna say we'll have one divisional primetime game. That would be the only thing where I differ.
Miami.
I can see Miami, or like with everything New England's done, like at the start of the year.
Actually, that's a really good point.
Like I could see us in New England, like one of the early, like the primetime games, like one of those doubleheader Monday nights. Boom! Here's Drake May, everything they've done for him. Stephon Diggs back in Buffalo.
Actually, yes, I changed my answer. Definitely that early in the season, so the Patriots aren't going to be 2-10.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten about Diggs. But that being said, it just depends on when Diggs is healthy, right? If we play New England week 1 or 2, who knows what they do. But if we play them week 5 or 6, yeah, I think you're 100% right. It'll be at New England. Plus, everyone loves Drake May, just like they loved C.J. Stroud last year. But
can you just – I hadn't really looked at the schedule, the opponents in a while. Is there a harder slate of home games for a team than what the Bills have?
I mean, I guess I don't think so, but obviously this is the prize for being the best in your division, right? One, we have to play the AFC North as it is, but Kansas City, Baltimore, Philly, Houston, really tough games. The Bucks. Again, if we're just playing games that we could potentially see as primetime, I could see that one, right? We have 2018 first round picks, a resurgent Baker Mayfield. Very well could be
fun.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I think we have a really hard schedule. But again, frankly, that's just how it's we're supposed to have a hard schedule. That's just how it works out.
And you
So
never, like, when we looked last year when we saw the Niners, it's like, oh my God, that's gonna be one of the hardest. And then look how they were beset by injuries. So you never know. And DJ says, pass on to fellow Mafia members. I'll check next week. The Kansas City Cheaters apparently want to have a traditional Christmas game. Could KC play here on Christmas? A lot of people have thought the Bills were going to play at Christmas, either Christmas or Thanksgiving.
yeah,
I don't like the holiday game just because I don't want to be angry on Christmas or Thanksgiving. But
it's on Thursday though.
I could see that 100%, DJ.
Yeah. No, it's so silly, right? As I mean, this is how you know that you're an actual fan, where it's just like you start to get juiced up a little bit over the schedule release. Like no other sport, basketball. All right, who's playing at Christmas?
Yeah.
No,
because the NFL, like, they have the perfect number of games. Like, I don't think they need to go to 18 games unless they're adding a second bye week.
Mm-hmm.
If they give teams 2 bye weeks, okay, move it to 18. But like every game matters. Like even in basketball or 82 games, it's still like, there's 81 more to go. Like I already know, like I want to know when the Bills are playing Atlanta because that's a drivable game for me in a stadium I've never been. So I want to know when that is so I can put my time in already for next year off. But that's the fun of it. 2 weeks from now, they'll have leaks before that. So final predictions, I'm going to say the ones you mentioned plus New England. And then I don't think being a Germany game counts as prime time. So I'm going to throw that one in there as well. The Bills and Steelers in Germany.
Yeah. Well, regardless, whether people are Bills fans or not, they're going to get more than they want of Josh Allen, for which I love it. Like I can't, man, come mid-August, early September, everyone hates me because that's all I talk about. And in Central Texas, it's all Cowboys, Cowboys, Cowboys. Except for Cowboys suck.
And there were, CBS's television guy came out and said like Josh Allen is much watched. Like Josh Allen is much watched TV. So even the games that aren't going to be prime time, the Bills are probably going to be playing a lot of 4:30 games this year to be in that standalone window for CBS and Fox whenever they get the Bills. And like, enjoy it now as a Bills fan because, we went how many years where we got like the one when they used to give everybody a Thursday night game and that was it. Everything else was 1 p.m. Eastern. And
a primetime game was once every 5 or 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. Ignore the division, DJ. They play the AFC North, which is like Cleveland, if they can get the quarterback figured out, is probably the toughest division in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're also playing the we got the Eagles from our divisional game, the extra game we get. So yay on that.
I mean, the NFC South is a bit
soft, but
yeah. But no, and here's the thing too. Do we all think that the Dolphins are going to be as bad this year as they were last year? I don't. I think that they'll be better. Do we think the Patriots are going to be bad? I mean,
they're going to be.
Yes, I think they're going to be decent. The Jets are going to suck, for which Jets are my least favorite teams. If they could suck for the rest of my life, it wouldn't be long enough. Okay. So no, I think our division is likely going to be harder than what people give it credit for. Now, I'm not ready to crown Drake May as anything yet, but at the very least, against that game or against the one where Josh actually started, that kid made some throws that were just like,
yeah.
Dang, that was a closed window throw, and he thread the needle.
And I'm more concerned about the Patriots because of Rabel.
Mm-hmm.
Like his teams, no matter their talent level, always gave Buffalo problems.
Yes,
and he drafted and signed guys who like are good football players. Like Robert Spillane was a very underrated free agency signing for them. Drafting Travion Henderson, right? So. DJ says, send me a reminder for next week. We will. You should get an alert now that you subscribe to us. We do post a show a day ahead of time, so it gives people notification. We will have a show. So since you subscribe to us, DJ, you should, as long as you have your notifications enabled, you should get one. And we appreciate you passing us on. We also can be found, like I said, on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. So that's a wrap for our episode 7. The full week's worth of shows for everybody.
Yeah.
Any closing comments?
Sucks that the draft's over. I'm excited for the schedule release. Semester is done next week, so I'm also pumped about that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of a lull when it comes to football and sports, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm excited. That's all I had to say, Lawrence.
Football's excited. NBA playoff basketball is way better than regular season basketball, so at least there's that.
Yeah, because because not to beat a dead horse, but because they're actually play defense.
Yeah, that Knicks Pistons series was kind of a throwback to the 90s in terms of how physical that series was. My goodness.
And I'll say this, it goes two ways because I can't tease apart whether it's better defense or the refs are swallowing their whistles. Like they aren't calling anything.
Yeah, is Dr. D upset we are keeping Cook?
Listen, all right, Mrs. D. Okay, I'm not upset. All right, I wasn't upset in the first place. It was just more if we were going to get rid of him, well, then get rid of him before and actually get something for him.
He's upset now, though.
Well, because she just pushed my buttons. No, you know what? I'm not. I'm fine.
I'm juiced up. I got my first win on Verdance last night.
Nobody cares.
And on Friday, clutching a 1v3. I was very pumped about that.
Nobody saw.
Partner I was playing with said the microphone kind of broke because of me yelling afterwards.
Nobody saw.
Pretty cool. But for episode 7 of SSBills Talk, for Dr. Dungan, I am Lawrence Foster. Thank you for stopping by as always. And we always close it out with what we always say.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.